Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm getting ready to give my patio a mini makeover for summer, and I wanted to add a little bit of interest to a brick wall that I have. And there's a little bit of an overhang since it's right up to the back of our house. And for years I have seen these American flag interpretations done a wide variety of ways, with scrap fabric, with ribbon, and I have just loved them. Now most of them are a smaller size, I think more for an interior wall, but this one actually is almost as tall as I am, and I think it'll really just finish off the area really nice. So I do need to trim off some of the excess dowel to make it a little bit shorter, and I'll do that with a hacksaw, and at the very end I'll show you what everything looks like. But as tall as this is, I just felt like it was missing something. So when I go to estate sales, I can never pass up vintage and antique linens, the handcrafts that people used to do in days of old. Just always touches my heart, and so I thought maybe it just needs a little bit more layering. So I tried a few things. I had some various grandmother's garden quilt blocks, and my first inclination was to try just a single quilt square. That was okay. And then I tried 2 quilt squares or quilt blocks. I guess it's not exactly a square, so I'm not a quilter. I'm not really sure what the correct term is. Let me know down in the comments. So with this, I was like, yeah, I like how it's filling in the space. And then I even tried, doing a little bit of a asymmetrical arrangement. And that was okay, but it just wasn't it. Whenever I'm making something, I just keep trying and trying until it finally clicks. And sometimes it happens within 5 minutes. Well, I've been going after this for about an hour, and I even texted some of my friends and family members to be like, do you like this? Do you like that? Do you like this? Do you like that? Now the interesting thing was, of the 6 different options that I gave people, they all chose something different. So I think I can't go wrong. You can never please everyone, and we as humans, we like a wide variety of things. So I decided to sleep on it. And this morning I tried a combination that I think I love. And so I went through and I grabbed this doily, and it'll take me a second to pin it on. But I had added this crocheted piece to finish off the top of the flag. And so I kind of liked how it repeated the elements. Now this is a little bit floppy. It needs to be pressed out and starched, which that will help before I stitch it on. But you can kind of see the idea. So I was like, yeah, I like that. To me, one of the original American flags that was created, you remember, it was a circular design. And then I thought, okay, more layering. Yeah, for me that really clicked. So while I stitch this on, I'm going to let you watch how I created the rest of this in case you want to make your own. And maybe by the time you're finished doing that, I'll have this sewn on and the dowel ends cut for a final reveal. A flag hangs on the front of my house 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. At night, we light up the flag. And I took the flag down because it needed a few repairs. Some of the edges had started to get worn, and once a flag gets to that point, you either should, out of respect for the flag, repair it or replace it. Now, since the flag was down, I took the opportunity to measure the flag. And one small point, while you're creating this flag or when you are working on the flag, the blue background with the white stars always is situated to the observer's left. So since we are looking at the flag, the uppermost corner of the flag is on the left-hand side. And since my flag is going to be hung on the wall, this is the position that I want to recreate with my fabric. So that's just a tip that you should keep in mind. And again, this is just for respect of the flag and what it means. I wouldn't be a good Girl Scout, retired military wife, or mother of an Eagle Scout if I failed to mention that. And so this flag measures 33.5 inches by 57 inches overall. And the blue rectangle measures 18 inches by 23.5 inches. So I'm going to use that as a guideline when creating my new flag. I went through my fabric scraps looking for red, white, and blue themed fabric, ribbons, and trims. And I think overall, even though this color more closely matches the American flag, I'm going to use this vintage 1930s fabric. I had originally made a real pretty blouse out of this, but I like how it blends with this fabric, which has more of a turquoisey feel, as well as this fabric. Now, if you remember a few weeks ago, I had made a 1940s dress, and I have a few strips of this vintage feed sack fabric, and I think overall that will create a really pretty color palette. And then there's just some plain white that I'll show you what I'm doing with that. And then, you know, when I'm at estate sales and thrift stores, sometimes I'll find some vintage trims that are attached to things. And as you can see, I need to clean up some of the threads from the ripped and stained tablecloth that I had taken this piece off of. And so don't be afraid to repurpose things and give them a second life. It's kind of slow going, removing all of this old stitching. You can see my nice little pile. One of the things you'll want to consider is how are you going to hang your flag? Traditional flags are hung via grommets, so you could create buttonholes or even just slits in the fabric since it is somewhat of a rustic project. I decided I wanted to hang my flag, since it's a little bit larger, with a wooden dowel. And this wooden dowel is 5/8 of an inch by 48 inches long. I found it at the home improvement store for a little over $3. So I'm just taking some muslin, and you can see that I've sewed up the edge And then I've ironed a 1/2 inch in and then 2.5 inches. So basically, once I fold it over at that edge and stitch along here, it's going to create a channel that the dowel can slide in and out of. And why that's important is because I want to be able to wash this flag. It's going to hang on my porch, and it's quite dusty where I live. And this will also serve as the base that I'm going to attach my strips of fabric. And I think I'm going to finish the top where the strips of fabric are sewn on with this bit of crocheted trim. And so I'm going to hem it to about right here and go ahead and attach it right along the edge here. So let me go ahead and sew all these things up. I'll go over each area again in the next segment. So right at that first pressing point, which was 2.5 inches from the edge of our strip, that's where I attached my piece of lace or crochet, whichever you want. You can use ribbon, any type of trim. Now, I haven't yet made that channel for the dowel because our second step now is underneath. You can see I've hemmed this edge, and this is where we're going to start attaching our strips. I'll show you in the next segment, so if it's a little bit confusing, don't worry. And again, even though I chose to hem this on the sewing machine, you can just rip it and leave the edge raw. You can use fabric glue. However you want to finish the edge of your base fabric, it's completely up to you. There's no right or wrong method for constructing the base of the flag. So I'm now going to start attaching our long strips of fabric. The most time-consuming process is just tearing the strips and attaching them. Since I was working with scraps, a lot of my strips had to be pieced together, which again, this is a rustic project, so it doesn't really matter that they had to be pieced together. I was just working with what I had. If you were just specifically buying brand new spools of ribbon or 1.5 yards of fabric, then you would not have to piece your fabric like I did, and it would really cut down the construction time. So I'm ready to sew right along this edge, and then all that will be covered by the crochet. But I want to add a second layer of ribbons and fabric on top of this so that it looks really full and lush. I have the second layer of various fabrics, ribbons, trims, anything that I have from leftover projects went on here. And some of the ribbons and lace are shorter pieces, but that's fine. It adds a little bit of visual interest. So now I'm going to go back in and just sew along here. So the first heavier fabrics will now get a second stitch. So by the time we finish this, it's going to be really secure and should, hopefully, if it's a windy day, it will hold up. We are now ready to put the solid blue section on the top, and it just sort of drapes over the ribbon, and you can see that again, this is pieced. Work with what you have. we're almost there. I have now put the crochet piece over the tops of all the ribbon and fabric, and you can see I just had this little short section of vintage pom-pom trim, and it kind of fit perfectly right over the blue section. So I think that looks pretty cute. I'm gonna take it to the sewing machine now and just run it right along this edge. And then the only thing we have to do is then flip that under to stitch it, which will be where we insert our dowel rod. So we're almost done, yay! This is what the back looks like, and then what I'm gonna do next is to fold that over and stitch right along that edge, because that's going to create the channel that my dowel can slip through. And you can see, you know, we have attached the strips of fabric and ribbon several different times now, so it is on there really sturdy. Enjoyed this crafty tutorial. I think it's a really great way to use up scraps that otherwise might end up in the trash, and it brings some fun and whimsy to this summer-inspired decor. And as always, I really appreciate those of you who leave comments down below, thumbs up, and you can always hit the subscribe button if you would like to see similar videos in the future. Over on my website, I do have additional photos of the flag and other details, and I've linked below to it down in the description box. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. When your neighbor won't stop with the noise pollution, trying to film a video here, sir, and end up in the trash.